Hello everyone and welcome to the episode of Paragraph Writing. We will learn about mechanics of writing in this section. In order to understand the importance of this topic in English grammar, an attempt will be made to discuss it intensively. I am Sakshi Mandwal and our subject expert for today is Vasundhara Gautam. In this episode, we will help the students to learn what is a paragraph, what a paragraph consists of, help the students in understanding the rules of writing a paragraph, how a paragraph helps in structuring a piece of writing. This is a well-established fact that one has to learn grammar in order to understand any language. Grammar presents a set of rules that helps in the writing of a language. Compared to spoken language, written language is a more permanent form. It is essential to learn writing as it teaches us proper articulation of feelings. As we have already said that in this episode we will learn about paragraph writing. If we look at any book, we can see that it is divided into chapters. It is important to divide a book into chapters as it makes it easy to understand different episodes in a book. Similarly, each of these chapters are further divided into sections, the first line of each being indented slightly to the right. It is also important to divide the chapters into different sections as they are also showing the division of points. These sections are known as paragraphs. Chapters, essay and other prose compositions are also broken up into paragraphs. All the paragraphs in any composition taken together produce a cogent piece of writing. The paragraphs help in providing a structural argument which gives clarity of purpose and makes the writing interesting as well. The length of the paragraphs can differ. It generally constitutes of 2 or more lines. What is a paragraph? A paragraph is a number of sentences grouped together and related to one topic, or a group of related sentences that develop a single point. In different writings, paragraphs will be grouped differently. For example, in an essay, all the paragraphs will contain different information about the subject, but in a novel, a paragraph might just contain the description of a particular scene. We will read about different paragraphs in the next episode. In this episode, we will learn about the principles of paragraph writing. The paragraphs of a composition are not mere arbitrary divisions. The division of a chapter into paragraphs must be made according to the changes of ideas that are to be introduced. There are no rules for the length of a paragraph. They may be long or short, but it mostly depends upon the discretion of the writer and where he wants to divide his or her argument.
Paragraph is a composition, like any other composition. Normally, when we interact with our students, we tell them that the smallest unit of composition is a sentence. And then, when a group of sentences get together, they make up a paragraph. Paragraph writing is extremely important because it enables us to organize the longer composition better. What do we mean by a longer composition? An essay would be a longer composition. An essay would have multiple paragraphs, and every paragraph would have multiple sentences. So paragraph writing is an art. It is a technique that we need to learn. What is extremely important about paragraph writing is that it has a body. It has an introduction, it has a body, and then it has a conclusion. But they need not be in 3 different shapes. They all constitute one paragraph. In the introduction, we talk about the topic sentence. A paragraph inevitably would have a topic sentence. What is this topic sentence? Topic sentence is a sentence that we need to elaborate in a paragraph. The topic sentence is the key sentence in a paragraph because it is that which is supported in the body and in the conclusion. So it is the topic sentence which is the heart and soul of a paragraph. When we write a paragraph, the supporting details that we provide in order to establish the topic sentence constitutes the body of the paragraph. This body of the paragraph could be quite detailed. It could have examples. It could have illustrations. And then finally, there is the conclusion of the paragraph. But then the conclusion of the paragraph is not outside the framework of the paragraph. It is part of the paragraph itself. So the conclusion of a paragraph would normally be either the last sentence of the paragraph or the last 2 or 3 sentences or the last 2 sentences of the paragraph, which means that the conclusion should be reinforcing what has been stated in the topic sentence. And it is not necessary that the topic sentence is to be repeated. Rather, we should not repeat the topic sentence in the concluding sentence of a paragraph. It has to be rephrased differently, but then this rephrasing should be an echo of the topic sentence. In other words, somebody who reads the paragraph from the topic sentence and comes to the conclusion, he gets a sense of continuity and coherence. And a paragraph should essentially support the main idea which is there in the topic sentence.
Here we have examples from different writings, from newspapers, novels and others. As for example, Mr. Bingley was good-looking and gentlemanlike. He had a pleasant countenance and easy, unaffected manners. His sisters were fine women with an air of decided fashion. His brother-in-law, Mr. Hurst, merely looked the gentleman. But his friend, Mr. Darcy, soon drew the attention of the room by his fine, tall presence, handsome features, noble mien, and the report which was in general circulation within 5 minutes after his entrance of his having 10,000 a year. The gentlemen pronounced him to be a fine figure of a man. The ladies declared he was much handsomer than Mr. Bingley, and he was looked at with great admiration for about half the evening, till his manners gave a disgust which turned the tide of his popularity. For he was discovered to be proud, to be above his company, and above being pleased. And not all his large estate in Derbyshire could then save him from having a most forbidding, disagreeable countenance and being unworthy to be compared with his friend. Mr. Bingley had soon made himself acquainted with all the principal people in the room. He was lively and unreserved, danced every dance, was angry that the ball closed so early, and talked of giving one himself at Netherfield. Such amiable qualities must speak for themselves. What a contrast between him and his friend! Mr. Darcy danced only once with Mrs. Hurst and once with Miss Bingley, declined being introduced to any other lady, and spent the rest of the evening in walking about the room, speaking occasionally to one of his own party. His character was decided. He was the proudest, most disagreeable man in the world, and everybody hoped that he would never come there again. Amongst the most violent against him was Mrs. Bennet, whose dislike of his general behaviour was sharpened into particular resentment by his having slighted one of her daughters. Pride and Prejudice, Jane Austen. This paragraph is taken from Jane Austen's novel, Pride and Prejudice. Paragraphs are written differently in a novel than in a newspaper. Here, as we can see, these two paragraphs describe the appearance and characteristics of two men. First, Mr. Darcy and then Mr. Bingley. As mentioned above, these paragraphs talk about two different persons through two paragraphs. This helps the author to describe the nature of these two men properly. This is a descriptive paragraph. These paragraphs, along with some others, when put together, might form a part of a larger chapter. How to write a basic paragraph? It is important to know that some grammatical rules are essential while writing a paragraph, or for that matter any piece of writing. A sentence should always start with a capital letter. For example, Ram goes to school. Ram goes to school. The second sentence is correct and is more acceptable than the first one. Grammatical rules dictates that all the sentences should begin with a capital letter. No capital letters are not allowed in the middle of the sentence except for proper noun. For example, I went to New Delhi in December. Using full stop or period in English and Purnavaram in Hindi should be used at the end of the sentence. It shows one thought in one sentence. If full stop is not used properly, it might distort the meaning of the sentence. Like poetry is the language of the imagination and the passions. It relates to whatever gives immediate pleasure or pain to the human mind. Poetry is the language of the imagination and the passions. It relates to whatever gives immediate pleasure or pain to the human mind. These two examples are to show the distorted meaning of the sentence. The use of inappropriate punctuations can lead to flawed interpretation of the sentence. In the first one, punctuation is used properly than in the second one. In fact, errors in using of punctuations can change the meaning of a sentence wholly. Pointers should not be used. While writing a paragraph, it is important for a student to understand that they should not use pointers. Paragraph is a more compact structure and generally reflects an idea. On the other hand, points are very informal way of writing. Writing a paragraph is a challenging task as it requires a logical progression of thought. Like an essay, a paragraph also has a proper beginning, middle and end. The beginning is known as a topic sentence. The middle refers to supporting sentences and the end is a conclusion or final sentence. Topic sentence. A topic sentence is the first sentence of a paragraph. It introduces the main idea of the paragraph and the other succeeding sentences add information or support the topic sentence. Supporting sentence. The sentence followed by the topic sentence are to support the topic sentence. There could be more than one supporting sentence. The succeeding sentences could be descriptive, analytical or any other kind depending on the kind of writing. Final sentence. The final sentence of a paragraph is considered to be important as it carries the conclusion to the paragraph. The tone of finality present in the last sentence completes the paragraph. To understand the importance of the first sentence, supporting sentence and last sentence, we are providing this example of a passage. We hope that this will make things clearer. I am a student. My name is Samir. I study in 10th standard. Social sciences is my favorite subject. I don't like science, but I am forced by my parents to become a doctor. I will try to persuade my parents to allow me to pursue my dream of becoming a professor. I want to become a professor and contribute to the world of academia. The paragraph expresses a view of a student named Samir who wants to become a professor and contribute to the world of academia. The first line of the above given paragraph establishes a fact that it is about a student. The other lines or the supporting lines give more details about the student like his name, his favorite subject, what subject he dislikes, etc. One of the supporting lines tells us that he doesn't want to be a doctor but a professor. The final sentence or the conclusion tell us why he wants to be a professor. This is a simple example to show the three parts of a paragraph and how they function in creating a whole paragraph. Principles of paragraph writing. Though there are no hard and fast rules that we should follow while writing paragraphs, there are certain essential things that we keep in mind. They are as follows. Unity. It is believed to be the most important principle to be observed in constructing a paragraph. Just as each sentence deals with one topic or idea, similarly, one paragraph should deal with a central idea. The paragraph and every part of it must be the expression of one theme and it should ideally have a connection with the next paragraph. In order to express unity, a good practice is to read a chapter in a book and give a short heading or a title to each paragraph which will express in a word or brief phrase the subject of a paragraph. Government to restore Red Fort's grandeur. New Delhi, February 23, 2014. With the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Transport, Tourism and Culture criticizing the Ministry of Culture for failing to renovate the iconic monument where the Prime Minister unfurls the national tricolour on Independence Day, the Archaeological Survey of India has decided to make efforts to renovate the Red Fort in such a manner that the earlier grandeur of the Mughal era is revived. Speaking to the Hindu, ASI Director General Praveen Srivastav said, "We have been working at the Red Fort and trying to see to what extent we can bring this monument to its original glory. The committee wants the Red Fort as well as its surroundings to be developed. It is sad that nothing has been done to renovate this great monument and compensate for the loss and deliberate destruction that took place during the colonial period by converting it into a military barrack. Tabling its report titled Upkeep of Various Monuments in Delhi, National Museum and Other Important Issues Pertaining to the Ministry of Culture, in the Rajya Sabha on Wednesday, the committee said the Red Fort was deliberately converted into a military barrack, leading to reckless encroachment and defacement. The panel emphasized the need to integrate the Red Fort with Shahjahanabad. It said information and images of the entire walled city area have been made into a dossier and dispatched by the Ministry of Culture to UNESCO so that the Delhi can get the tag of World Heritage City. The committee has expressed concern over the lack of steps in improving the visibility of several important museums in Red Fort. It said these buildings, the Freedom Fighters Museum, the Indian War Memorial Museum, and the Archaeological Museum, preserve important historical antiquities. While many posts are lying vacant, many museum staff have been working as casual workers for almost 2 decades, it notes. Steps need to be taken to fill these vacancies in time and also to regularize the eligible casual appointees to boost their morale so that they can contribute best in their career. The committee has recommended that the Ministries of Culture and Tourism make a joint effort for this purpose. It appreciated the work done by the Aga Khan Trust for Culture for carrying out renovation work at Humayun's tomb, a testament to the brilliant architectural splendor of the Mughal period. In view of the importance of the monument, United Nations Educational, Scientific, Cultural Organization also included the Humayun's tomb in the list of World Heritage Site in 1993. Despite this, the committee found in one of its visits that the monument was in a bad shape and its upkeep woefully inadequate. Water seeped through the roof and the blue Persian tiles were converted in dirt and grime. The once resplendent Mughal gardens were overrun by dense overgrowth of wild grass and weeds. At many places, AKTC and ASI were found doing renovation work there. Reacting to this report, AKTC project manager Ratish Nanda said, "We are buoyed by this report. The Parliamentary Standing Committee on Transport, Tourism and Culture has been evincing interest in the work being done by us. We hope to continue this effort with the government. Right now, we are working on a number of monuments around the Hazrat Nizamuddin Basti area." In the above news published in the Hindu is giving us the information about the condition of Red Fort and also indicates the fact that it should be renovated. The paragraphs structured in this example are different from the other examples we gave from Jane Austen's novel. This whole news item, all the paragraphs in the news, is addressing a central issue being the renovation of Red Fort. Not just unity, they are also in logical order of progression. This creates a sense of connectedness with sentences and paragraphs. Order. The second principle behind paragraph construction is order. By order over here, we mean a logical sequence of thought or development of a particular subject. Within paragraphs, events must be related in the order of their occurrence and all ideas should be connected with the leading idea. The arrangement of the ideas should also be according to their importance or order. It is important to note that the order of the argument or points differ in different writings. For example, many mystery novels start from a murder or a crime scene and the logical opening of the circumstances leads to the criminal in the end. It is a choice of the author how he or she wants to progress in their work. On the other hand, generally, the new progress in a more straightforward manner. Note, the first and the last sentences in a paragraph are the most important ones. The first sentence, also known as the topic sentence, builds the interest of the reader, whereas the last sentence sums up the paragraph, drawing up a conclusion to the description or argument that had been started at the beginning. Variety. The third principle in paragraph construction is variety. This principle is used to avoid monotony and for the interest of the reader. This can be done through bringing in variation in the length of the paragraphs. To avoid monotony, one can frame sentences in different manners instead of just following one pattern. Sometimes, while writing, authors choose to write different issues in different paragraphs, which will support the main argument of the essay. For example, in an essay on pollution, we can write about different paragraphs on air, water, soil and noise pollution, which will support the main topic of pollution. The next component is coherence, which is also very important in a piece of writing. Coherence. Coherence implies a proper structure. Paragraphs should be written and arranged in such a manner that the whole thing taken together produces a good essay or a chapter of a book. As for example, what is truth? said jesting Pilate, and would not stay for an answer. Certainly there be that delight and giddiness and count it a bondage to fix a belief, affecting free will in thinking as well as in acting. And though the sects of philosophers of that kind be gone, yet there remain certain discoursing wits which are of the same veins, though there be not so much blood in them as was in those of the ancients. But it is not only the difficulty and labour which men take in finding out of truth, nor again that when it is found, it imposeth upon men's thought that doth bring lies in favour, but a natural though corrupt love of the lie itself. One of the later school of the Grecians examined the matter, and is at a stand to think what should be in it that men should love lies, where neither they make for pleasure as with poets, nor for advantage as with the merchant, but for the lie's sake. But I cannot tell, the same truth is a naked and open daylight that doth not show the masks and mummeries and triumphs of the world, half so stately and daintily as candle lights. Truth may perhaps come to the price of a pearl that showeth best by day, but it will not rise to the price of a diamond or carbuncle that showeth best in varied lights. A mixture of a lie doth every at pleasure. Doth any man doubt that if there were taken out of men's minds vain opinions, flattering hopes, false valuations, imaginations, as one would, and the like, but it would leave the minds of a number of men poor shrunken things, full of melancholy and indisposition, and unpleasing to themselves. One of the fathers in great severity called poesie veniam doimonum, because it filleth the imagination. And yet it is but with the shadow of a lie. But it is not the lie that passeth through the mind, but the lie that sinketh in, and settleth in it, that doth the hurt, such as we spake of before. But whosoever these things are thus in men's depraved judgments and affections, yet truth, which only doth judge itself, teacheth that the inquiry of truth, which is the love-making or wooing of it, the knowledge of truth, which is the presence of it, and the belief of truth, which is the enjoying of it, is the sovereign good of human nature. The first creature of God in the works of the days was the light of the sense. The last was the light of the reason. And his Sabbath work ever since is the illumination of a spirit. First he breatheth light upon the face of the matter or chaos, then he breatheth light into the face of man, and still he breatheth and inspireth light into the face of his chosen. The poet that beautified the sect that was otherwise inferior to the rest saith yet excellently well. It is a pleasure to stand upon the shore and to see ships tossed upon the sea, a pleasure to stand in the window of a castle and to see a battle and the adventures thereof below. But no pleasure is comparable to the standing upon the vantage ground of truth, a hill not to be commanded, and where the air is always clear and serene, and to see the errors and wanderings and mists and tempests in the vale below, so always that this prospect be with pity and not with swelling or pride. Certainly it is heaven upon earth to have a man's mind move in charity, rest in providence, and turn upon the poles of truth. To pass from theological and philosophical truth to the truth of civil business, it will be acknowledged even by those that practice it not, that clear and round dealings is the honour of man's nature. And that mixture of falsehoods is like alloy in coin of gold and silver, which may make the metal work the better, but it embasseth it. For these windings and crooked curses are the goings of the serpent, which goeth basely upon the belly and not upon the feet. There is no vice that doth so cover a man with shame as to be found false and perfidious. And therefore Montaigne saith prettily, when he inquired the reason why the word of the lie should be such a disgrace and such an odious charge, saith he, if it be well weighed, to say that a man lieth is as much to say as that he is brave towards God and a coward towards men. For a lie faces God and shrinks from man. Surely the wickedness of falsehood and breach of faith cannot possibly be so highly expressed as in that it shall be the last peal to call the judgments of God upon the generations of men. It being foretold that when Christ cometh, he shall not find faith upon the earth. Of truth, Francis Bacon. The above essay is taken from Bacon's Essays. It is a good example of variety, order and coherence. Here the author discusses various aspects of truth and its significance. By discussing various angles of truth, the paragraph brings in variety. Even when different things are discussed, the paragraph has an order and coherence within itself. It does not go in all directions, rather the different arguments all come together in speaking something about truth itself. Conclusion. In this episode, we have learned about the mechanics of writing. It is a process during which people learn to write. This particular episode is on paragraph writing. In this episode, the student should understand that writing is a wonderful creative process. It demands focus on the part of the student, as we have already learned that it is essential to break your arguments, etc. into different paragraphs so that it is easy to understand and looks presentable as well. The breaking of an argument into different paragraphs takes time. Students will slowly learn how to write paragraphs. There are different kinds of paragraphs. The next chapter will tell us about the different kinds of paragraphs. The examples will show how we can write brilliant paragraphs ourselves. That is all that we had for you for today. We hope you enjoyed this session. See you again. Till then, thank you and namaskar.